Starting?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so my call to action speech will be on tenure for teachers and why it needs to be reformed. So on June 28th, 2010, New York City closed its rubber rooms, which where approximately 600 different teachers that were accused of incompetence and wrongdoing received their full salaries to sit in a sparse room and do nothing instead of being in an actual classroom to teach. However, just in January, the New York Post actually released that they're actually still using these rooms, and they had pictures to back up that they're still being used in New York. And in 2010, the LA Unified School District spent about $3.5 million just trying to fire 7 different underperforming teachers. It took 5 years for the case to go through, and only 4 of those teachers actually got fired. 32 other tenured teachers were given 50,000 excuse me $50,000 by the district to quit because they couldn't be formally fired. So because of these reasons, tenure for teachers is kind of outdated for 2016, and it shouldn't be that difficult to fire someone who isn't doing their job correctly. So what exactly tenure, and what does it do? It was established to give teachers the freedom to teach controversial topics in the classroom. And it also protected them from being fired from new political parties that were put into office, and also when new principals would be hired. It kept them from being fired, and so that the principal could hire like his friends. It kept them safe from that. It also coincided with women's suffrage, so just for being a woman, you could be fired for wearing pants or getting married or getting pregnant while you were a teacher during that time. There are 2 different types of tenure. There's the K through 12 kind and the college level kind. The K through 12 can be achieved from about 2 to 4 years, and once you have tenure, you're guaranteed an explanation before you're dismissed from your job. So it's the most common type of tenure. Then college level, it takes on average 7 years to get tenure, and it's nearly impossible to fire you, and that's where a lot of people end up spending the money for college or court costs to get a teacher fired for underperforming. According to Matt Barnum, a policy and research editor at the 74 news article, most teachers with college level tenure won't be released for the reason of time, average of 5 years, and cost, previously mentioned the 3.5 million. And according to 2007-2008 data, roughly 1 in 40 tenured teachers are fired for poor performance. But in 2010-2011 suggests that it's more likely that 1 in 500 tenured teachers are fired for poor performance. So why is this an issue for everyday teachers? Because it's so difficult to fire a tenured teacher, it encourages a sense of incompetence in the classroom. Once a teacher knows that they won't lose their job, why would they continue to work as hard as they would to keep their job? This is one of the most argued points for tenure, and one of the most controversial, and a lot of people have different opinions on it. New York's rubber rooms are the finest example to back this, and that it does actually encourage incompetence in the classroom. Because of the No Child Left Behind Act and its testing requirements, the academic freedom that tenure protects is kind of dampened. The standardized testing puts pressure on teachers and what they can teach, and thus kind of granting their freedom useless. Prior to being tenured, a teacher can be fired for practically any reason. This creates a standard for teachers across the country that without a tenure, their job is at jeopardy at any time, and they can literally just be fired. Without tenure, teachers would be encouraged that their actual performance is what is keeping their jobs, rather than years and experience at their workplace. So what can we do to get something like this changed? Tenure doesn't need to be eliminated completely. It just needs to be reformed. So it still has the good ideas, like the fact that teachers can have the freedom to teach controversial topics in school. That's really important. It just needs to be less difficult, time-consuming, and costly to actually fire someone for not doing their job. Things like rubber rooms need to be completely abolished, and this way teachers can continue to do their best without worrying of being fired for talking about political things in the classroom. There are a few petitions that you can actually sign online to get these to get tenure reformed. One of them is move.org, which currently is running to reform teacher tenure, and it is to be delivered to Governor Edmund Brown. Or change.org also has a reform petition with 2,367 out of 5,000 supporters. And there are also a lot of other petitions that are just a Google search away that you can find. So tenure was supposed to give teacher freedom to discuss controversial topics in the classroom, but rather has created an unfair disadvantage to most teachers. And tenure creates a standard of incompetence in the classroom. And it is very difficult, expensive, and time-consuming to fire anybody that has tenure and isn't doing their job. Like we said, there are petitions that you can do that you can sign and will help get something like this under the nose of somebody who has the place to get it changed. So ultimately, even though tenure has negative implications with it, it just needs to be formed to really make a difference in our school systems.